Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week. We're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, first up is our latest exclusive to unveil. This is a new Boker. This is the LRF, a Kansei Matsuno design, and it is a very cool version of it. The handles are the clearest difference you can see right there. It is a white resin, kind of a faux ivory type of look. Looks very classy. The spear point blade is VG10 steel with a horizontal grain, which is that nice machine-made touch in this case, but it kind of emulates that hand-rubbed touch that you might normally find on custom knives. Best of all, this is the most affordable version of this knife yet, coming in just $60, just under 60 bucks for that handle material and VG10 blade steel. I think that's a really good deal in this case. The aesthetics here, I think, are really nice. You got a little bit of that kind of executive knife styling going on. Great gent's knife, whether you're a gent or a lady, but nice fancy look going on, but not too out of place, I think, in a pair of blue jeans either. It just has a bit of almost a classic look in a way with this particular material, I think. The liner lock holds it in nicely or holds it open nicely. And I love the profile when folded up. You almost completely lose the outline of the blade. And then you've got a pair of flipper tabs here up top. The one right here falls under your index finger, works great as a standard flipper, and the action, as you can see right there, is, quite good. You can also front flip this knife with the tab on the leading edge. And then for me, which I find even more fun, if you're going to be using your thumb to catch one of those tabs anyway, you could always do the lighter flick with that reverse or the tab on the backside. Also feels really good. Great little shape. I love the essentially full flat grind on these knives. It's a nice agile blade profile. You've got a crown spine, another nice touch, especially at this price range. Deep carry pocket clip. You do get the bail at the back, and well, we'll call it an integrated bail. It's not quite like an old school classic bail that can move around, but a hoop in any case, and the fob can be removed if you want it to be a little more subtle. Overall, really nice, very good price for the VG10 especially. Just under 60 bucks, and you have a great little pocket knife. Next up, we've got a very similar knife, same designer, same brand, Kansei Matsuno from Boker. This one is a more premium option than what we just looked at, however. Price on this is about $169 and some change. The differences between that and the VG10 knife we just looked at, we've got S35 VN blade steel and this gold fat carbon scales. I almost said inlays, but the scales are that gold fat carbon material. Really cool shimmer going on. Also another great gentlemanly knife, but just a different vibe than the faux ivory we just looked at. Same thing with both of these knives. You've got about a 3-inch blade, so you've got something that can be carried just about everywhere. You've got good lockup. You've got the same kind of dual little flipper nubbin arrangement on both of these knives. Works great. Same crown spine, same horizontal grain, same little leather fob at the back as well. So overall, just really nice knives. Very easy to use, very classy, and very useful at the same time. Next up, we have another exclusive product. Not the knife in this case, titanium scales for the Demko 20.5 from Berkshire Forge. We've got two versions. We've got the bead blasted that you can see right here. We've also got a stone washed version, and these are coming in just under 100 bucks for that titanium. And with that, you're getting the scales and a titanium backspacer as well, kind of maintaining the ridged look of the original Grivery models. And that is what these are intended to upgrade. Any of the Grivery models out there with the standard pivot, these scales will fit. So our carbon fiber exclusive and the full titanium versions of this that already come in full titanium have a larger pivot, so it's not gonna work on those. Don't know why, I take that back. I was about to say I don't know why you would buy a set of titanium scales if your knife already had titanium on them, but maybe you wanted to, have some fun doing some anodization or customization, that sort of thing. But these aren't gonna work with those particular versions. But you can get knives of this with the Grivery, with D2, with AUS 10, and even 3V exclusive from us here at the Knife Center. We'll make sure to leave a link to those as well. The fit on them is perfect. It feels great. The blasted texture has a real silky feel in the hand. On top of that, we've also got, for about 50 bucks, a full titanium hardware set that you can get. So that's all the screws and the pivot you can get in titanium as well if you want to go even crazier, either just upgrading it for the nice look of titanium or for especially the modders out there who like to anodize and do cool finishes on titanium. You can do this a full-on kind of crazy pimped out version of this knife if you wish. Only get them right here from us. Next up, dropping today, also dropping today, we have 4 new variations of the Benchmade Mini Crooked River. Blade steel is still S30V. The handles are still the stabilized diamond wood. Actually, I'm not sure if these are name brand diamond wood or not, but it's the same type of laminated material. Where these differ is in the engraving. These are the Kansei Underwood series, which is the name of the artist that came up with these patterns. And it's essentially 4 different hunting themed patterns going on. I've got the whitetail deer version right here. Got some nice engraving on the blade, laser engraving it looks like, and engraving on the bolster too. It's kind of easy to miss if you're not looking too closely. This wood, this particular shade of the stabilized wood laminate there, I think looks the best personally. They're tuned really nicely. Great axis lock flickability right out of the box. Ivory G10 backspacer. It's kind of interesting. Ivory, not actual ivory, asterisk. There's also the pheasant. I believe this is a ring neck pheasant. I almost said ringtail, with a different shade. This is probably the closest to the original Crooked River in terms of the wood laminate shade. The blue pivot collar. Also got a bull elk with a different wood pattern and gold pivot collar, and the mallard duck with yet another wood variant and a yellow pivot ring. It looks almost got like a little hint of green in that pivot ring as well. Maybe that's because there's a hint of green in the stabilized wood material here. But they all are done exceptionally well. The fidelity of the engraving is really good. Sometimes things can go a little bit imprecise on some things, but these are spot on. So if that's your sort of thing, these look great. These are limited, as I mentioned. I think I mentioned it anyway. These are limited edition knives, so they're not going to be around forever. Price on them is about $360. So if you're looking, if you like the look here, wouldn't wait too long to get your hands on one. But the Crooked River is, of course, a great design. They're perpetually out of stock these days because guys snap them up really quickly. We've also got another clip pointy Benchmade to take a look at this week. Actually debuted, I think 2 weeks ago, but fun behind the scenes fact, Thomas there behind the camera was going on vacation, so by the time we were kind of filming ahead of schedule a little bit to get stuff done. So this one kind of didn't make it into the filming because we had already filmed the new Knives episodes when this dropped, the Benchmade TaggedOut. Kind of a similar vibe to the clip point blade as the Crooked River, but it's a very much a different animal. So, animal.
Sorry, I was on vacation, so I'm used to a higher caliber joke.
That's pretty good. So the name of this knife is TaggedOut. So there's obviously some hunting connotations there, reinforced by the orange Grivery handles in this case. But TaggedOut, you filled your tags for the season, but also the out is part of, or it's indicative of a sort of evolution or expansion of the design philosophy behind the bug out. That being thin, slicey blades and lightweight construction. This knife right here is about 3.5 inches long on the blade, so you got an extra 1/4 inch on the bug out, and it weighs just barely more, 2.1 ounces for this full-sized knife. I mean, it's just about barely there. The rigidity on the handles is actually pretty good. I know that's a complaint some folks have about the standard bug out, And with these being larger handles, you might expect to see more flex, but actually there's still some there, but it feels less to me than the standard bug out. Maybe it's the hatch pattern underneath, the reinforcing pattern's a little stronger, not sure, but it genuinely feels quite good. 3.5 inches, like I mentioned on the blade, CPM 154 blade steel, and for some folks out there, this seems to be something that comes up whenever we talk about CPM 154. CPM 154 is not the same thing as 154 CM. Metallurgically, it's the same percentages of elements, yes, but CPM 154 is made via the powder metallurgy process. As such, the characteristics or the properties of the steel in its final form are different. Edge retention is going to be very similar, but you're going to get a lot more toughness out of this CPM version versus standard 154 CM. And on a knife like this, where you're talking a thin slicing blade that could be, that's intended to be used for some hunting tasks where you might be running into bone or other stuff like that, that toughness is going to be a very nice addition, very nice thing to have on board. Should be tougher, I think, than stuff like S30V as well. So if that's a point of comparison, the S30V will probably hold an edge longer, but this CPM 154 should be a little bit tougher, I believe. And check out how thin that blade is. 0.09 inches thick. So it's essentially, it looks even thinner than a bug out, but I'm not even sure. I might be misremembering that there. But you've got a full flat grind on that, just a phenomenal slicey profile overall. Handles, like I mentioned, feel great. There's enough space for all 4 of my fingers on my slightly larger than average hands, so your mileage, of course, may vary. But the feel is great, the solidity is great, reversible deep carry pocket clip, and the axis lock here. I don't know what it is, but Benchmade is doing lately just a great job tuning these right out of the box. Some in the past may have needed a little breaking in or a little tuning. A lot of the ones I've been pulling out of boxes lately for videos have been spot on. I mean, that's just phenomenal. So you can do the wrist flick opening. You've also got, that messed up a little bit, but you've also got the thumb cut out there for other types of opening, and it should be big enough that even if you're wearing a pair of gloves while out hunting, you should be able to catch that blade no problem. Finally, the last thing I want to talk about here is they are using Benchmade's Select Edge. I don't want to use the word technology like they use, but their Select Edge process, we'll say, which means they may sharpen it to a slightly different angle than many of their standard knives, but they also get a little bit more attention paid to the refinement. As such, you've got a very nicely finished edge here that is a little more refined, a little less toothy than many of the other knives in their lineup. And the price on this knife right now comes in about $171. All right, next up, another knife dropping, well, actually, the first knife we have that's dropping tomorrow on the day this video comes out. These videos come out on Thursdays. This knife is coming out on a Friday. This is the Jack Wolf Benny's clip. Now, you may be looking at this knife and looking at the shape and going, hey, isn't that kind of a Lanny's clip shape? And you would be right. But since the Jack Wolf Knives founder is named Benjamin, this is the Benny's clip. Kind of a nice little nod right there. A couple different versions. We've got this fat carbon, which is the toxic green camo carbon scales, natural micarta, black micarta, and another fat carbon, kind of a blue fat carbon. What's the name of it? Arctic Storm fat carbon, for those of you fat carbon collectors out there. $300 for the fat carbon versions, $275 for the micarta versions, and the fit and finish on these slip joints is phenomenal. The blade is 3 inches of M390. It's got very precise grinds, nice, thin, man, very thin, and quite sharp edges as well. The blade walks and talks quite nicely. The handle looks great. Man, everything just, it always feels so good on these knives. Titanium handle with integral bolsters underneath of those, shall we say onlays? We'll say onlays. Just everything feels super crisp, super tight, super premium, and it better at those kind of prices, let's be honest. Perfectly flush there in the open position. How's it look on the half stop? Yeah, back spring is perfectly flush there. Just an exusion of premiumness there. Put that in our dictionary.
Okay.
Thomas is just hearing me.
Getting bitter.
He's just hearing me make up these words. It's like, man, I have to make the caption files for these videos. So and so.
Well, someone is.
You're welcome. Exusion or extrusion? Not extrusion. No, that wouldn't make sense. We've also got, of course, the nice aluminum tube that all of these come with the original artwork for each model. The collectible pog in there. You've got a pocket slip. You've got a stay, Jack Wolf doggy. You've got a microfiber rag in there as well. Just overall, very nice. And again, dropping tomorrow on Friday after this video posts. Next up, we've got another knife that kind of is leaning into a similar thing that Jack Wolf does, which is kind of classic patterns, but modern reinterpretations of them. You've got a new Finch, the Buffalo Tooth. Comes in about $195. Has a very kind of sunfish-esque look, if you know what I'm talking about. Very broad blade. 3 inches though. It's not overly long in the grand scheme of things. 154 cm, horizontal grain, again, for that nice premium feel that carries back through the stainless steel handle, that same texture, I should say. And we've got mother of pearl inlays on this one over top of acrylic. You can kind of see both layers there from the side. But that's genuine mother of pearl, looks fantastic. Milled pocket clip and a frame lock flipper rather than being a slip joint, even though you have the nail nicks for opening on this blade. So you could open it like a traditional slip joint, but you can flip it like a modern one. Definitely a hand filling grip with this this spear point blade going on here. Man, just makes me smile, man. Very, very cool. In addition to this version, there's a couple other scale variants or handle variants, a jigged titanium, which looks really cool, and a Coco Bolo, which also joined this as part of the lineup. Next up, well, let's do another slip joint, and this is a new pattern. This is an Old Hickory slip joint. It is just simply called the Old Hickory Outdoor Slip Joint. And it's pretty darn cool. The price on it's reasonable too for an American-made slip joint knife, just under $40. For that, you've got a 2.9 inch carbon steel blade, spear point here again with a full flat grind, and you've got handles that aren't the walnut or the standard wood handles that you expect from the Old Hickory fixed blades. Instead, this is a laminated wood product, similar to the Crooked Rivers we looked at earlier. So this could be a name brand diamond wood or something else, some other kind of pack of wood perhaps, I'm not sure. But you can see that in the layers looking down from the top. Very consistent, too consistent to be natural, but yet it still has a natural vibe to it, which is pretty cool. Nice and crisp spine, if you're gonna use this like many outdoor Old Hickory users do to strike a fire steel. And in fact, the way to do that would be to do that while the knife is closed. So you've got a nice safe striker with no edge that could kind of come back and bite you if you're being a little less than careful. Not that you'd be being less than careful now, would you? Very good.
We're not lawyers.
Always a good point. I feel like we should just open every video with that from now on. David C. Anderson here. We're not lawyers, but we are coming, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Just to cover our butts. Opening action on this is very easy thanks to the cutout in the blade. No nail nick. So if you're someone who, like my brother, who has a condition with his fingernails where they're a little bit soft, some real stiff slip joints, he just has a hard time opening. This, you don't need a fingernail at all. Works great with just your fingertips. As you can see, the action feels and sounds good too. You got that nice crisp half stop along the way. It's maybe a little dirty on the inside. We'll give him a little flack for that. But everything feels really well put together. Nice and flush on the open position there. You could certainly do the thing that Old Hickory folks love to do and mod these handles a bit if you like. Go ahead and mod the blade shape if you like too, but as is, solid option right here for actual utility. I even like how they have maximized the usable blade or usable edge on the blade. You've got just a little bit of kick on the ricasso there. Compare that, we'll say, to the Jack Wolf here, which has a more traditional shape to its ricasso. You lose a little bit of edge with that type of construction, which is fine. That's just the way it is. But it's cool to see old Hickory doing something like this too, where they really maximize what you're gonna get out of this small blade size in general. 40 bucks. Lot to recommend here, I think. All right, next up, about a week ago, we had a bunch of new WE and CIVIVI knives drop together. The first, this knife right here, the Baloo, an O-stop Hell design. This particular version comes in about $279, and that comes with a green micarta inlay on the front and back. Speaking of green micarta, the Banter and the Baby Banter also became available with green micarta, but we sold out of those, our initial order of those pretty quickly, but you can always put a pre-order in. That'll get filled and charged to you when we get our next batch of them at the link below, of course. But back to this knife, the Baloo. It's pretty cool. 3.3-inch blade, 20 CV. We've got a titanium frame with the micarta inlays as mentioned, but there's carbon fiber inlays, some other inlay options as well. There's a Damasteel blade option if that's your thing. And what I like about this is it's different. It's not aping any other front flipper or standard titanium frame lock knife out there I can think of. It's just got a really cool thing going on. Not as good of a opener for me. Again, my front flippage is known around these parts as being suspect for sure. So take that with a grain of salt. And the finger hole here, you kind of have to pinch it open. I'm not able to really get my thumb in there without really kind of concentrating at it, but pinch it open, you could finish the action with your thumb. But it's a cool shape, drop point style of blade, kind of a mid-height flat grind just underneath the blade cutouts there. Hand-filling handle design, and it's one that you can get right up behind the edge there. Despite this being a kind of fanciful looking knife, this has the bones of a solid worker all around, no doubt about it. Feels great. The wide, flat nature of that handle is going to lock in and work really well. Milled titanium pocket clip, I believe. I wonder if this one's reversible. It may be. The screw here on the opposite side falls at the same spot. I wonder if you can flip that around. I don't know for sure. But in any case, very cool knife. If you're good at front flippers, this is going to flip perfectly well for you. You've got ball bearings in the pivot. The lockup is phenomenal. And you've got something that truly is a bit different from everything else out there on the market right now. Next up, we've got a new version of the Mini Buster. This one comes in about $297 and some change right now. And the key differentiator for this version versus previous versions is that flamed titanium finish. That looks very, very cool indeed. The blade, 3.4 inches, 20 CV, high flat grind, sheep's foot profile. This is going to be a good, powerful feeling cutter. Fills the hand well enough, and you've got that just strong blade shape, especially for push cuts and dragging that tip along as well. Very, very cool. Milled pocket clip, frame lock with your lock bar insert there for longevity. Ball bearings in the pivot. Flipping action is very good. Overall, just really nice yet again. Actually, one thing about this knife is the blade feels like it's getting absolutely everything you can fit in that handle size. I mean, look how close the tip comes to the back. And when open, it just feels like it's maximized, so to speak. But back to the WEs, we have another one. This is the Soothsayer, or the Soothsayer, if you're saying it more correctly. A few different versions of this. They start around the $240 mark, just a little bit above. Some of these fancier versions, though, can get up a little bit. Actually, not too bad, about $250 for this one, but there is a Damasteel version that is paired with a Damascus inlay on the front and back. That one comes in about $860, so quite the jump between the two. It's not going to offer you a real performance upgrade because the 20 CV is going to hold an edge longer than the Damasteel, which is based on RWL 34, which is, we talked about this steel earlier, RWL 34 is essentially the same as CPM 154. So it's good stuff, but it's important to know where it lies, where its properties lie in comparison to other things. If edge retention is what you're after, the the 20 CV is definitely going to do it for you better than the Damasteel or the CPM 154. But anyway, $250 for this particular Soothsayer. The handle is a copper foil carbon fiber. Tell me that doesn't look really sweet. The titanium frame is blackened and stone washed, or slightly tumbled, I should say, as well as the blade. Has that same finish. Really cool shape going on here. It almost reminds me a little bit of like the Swiss Army knife blades in a way, where I'm gonna go ahead and call this a modified Wharncliffe. What do we call it on the website? Yeah, we're calling it a drop point on the website. See, that's the thing. This is one of those like in-between things that hugs the lines of so many different genres that it's sometimes a little hard to say. I wouldn't be mad at you if you called this a modified sheep's foot either, quite honestly. But in a way, like I said, it reminds me of a Swiss Army knife blade where it's kind of a drop point, but the tip's a little below the center line. No matter what you call it, this is gonna be a really excellent shape day to day. Full flat grind, it's got good geometry. You've got the flipper tab for good flippage, and you've got the dual fullers here. I haven't tried this yet, so this will be the first time I've tried to reverse flick it right here on camera. I'm getting better at that, man. Fewer botched takes for Thomas to have to cut around in the meantime.
That's appreciated.
But yeah, man, very cool. Titanium pocket clip folded over for deep carry. Very cool. And actually, I'm gonna go out of order here on the table because this one has some similarities to the knife we just looked at. This is a CIVIVI, so it's a more affordable knife. This is the Voltaic. This comes in about $73.50. You're not gonna get titanium here. We do have a stainless steel handle, and as such, the weight is definitely noticeably different than the titanium that I just had in my hands. 3.5-inch blade of 14C28N. Very good Sandvik steel. One of my favorite traditional ingot steels out there. I like it very, very much. Drop point blade, definitely drop pointy. Actually, hang on. Man, it's almost like a mirror image of the Soothsayer. Almost. Hang on, let's try it. Man, look at that. Audience, what do you think?
Reverse top top.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
They knew it was coming.
Can you go back on vacation? It was a whole week.
Gladly.
It was a whole week I didn't have to hear reverse Tonto jokes. You just had to stretch for something because there was nothing on the table this week, didn't you?
That's close enough.
All right, anyway. I'll give it to you. Welcome back, all that. But anyway, back to this here knife. Really great drop point shape for daily use. Full flat grind, dual fullers again. Even though you don't have titanium, we still have ball bearings in the pivot. So the flipping action's great, and also first time trying this right here on camera. Let's try the reverse flick. There you go. Stainless steel pocket clip on this one though, but it still is deep carry. Black G10 inlays, but there are some wood and I think a micarta inlay option too, actually. Let me check here real quick. My website's going slow, a little bit slow today, apologies. But we'll have links to all of these down there in the description of this video, of course. Yeah, it's a good blade shape. It's got that steel handle, so if you like that feeling of solidity a little more, this is definitely going to give it to you. And second to last on the table, but last in the order that I'm actually picking it up, the CIVIVI Savant. This version right here is one of the fancier versions, and it comes in about $106. You can get this with either a Sandvik 14C28N blade or a Damascus blade that you can see right here. And their Damascus is based on 9CR stainless steel, which is essentially 440C metallurgically. So you should expect performance something along those lines. Stainless steel on the handles here again. We've got a twill carbon fiber inlay front and back. Deep carry pocket clip. What other handles do we have here? We've got G10. That actually starts at about $72.50. We've got some wood handle options for about $75. A couple other things as well. Frame locking knife. Very nice. Folds up really nicely. Flips open really nicely with the ball bearings there. I don't know, in a way you could kind of think of this as, this could maybe be similar to someone who might enjoy a Kershaw Leak, perhaps. Got a little bit of a gentleman, especially with this configuration, a very gentlemanly, kind of fancified look, but a very useful blade too. What's the length on here? 3.5 inches, full flat grind, very acute tip, very useful knife. All right, that's all we've got for today. Make sure to let me know what you thought down in the comments, and to get your hands on these knives, check out the links in the description. That'll take you over to KnifeCenter.com, and while you're there, don't forget about our Knife Rewards program. Because if you're gonna be buying one of these knives, it's a cool thing that you'll be able to earn some free money to spend on your next one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.